Hey guys, welcome back to PJs. In today's video I'm going to do a segment on the common oil leaks that you will encounter on the Golf Mark 1. So if you're encountering some oil leaks that you can't detect, I'm going to give you a few tips in this video. And do continue to like and subscribe and even to share these videos to people who you think would benefit from it. And also remember always to switch on that notifications bell so that you can receive all the videos as I publish them. So one of the common oil leaks on the Golf Mark 1 is from the tappet cover, or the valve cover as it's also known as. Very common, I say. You will always find where a Golf Mark 1 leaks oil, you will find a very dirty, messy manifold, and you will find oil working its way down onto the exhaust manifold, which causes quite a stench. And you will also find oil running from here, from this area here, the lip of the tappet cover, and it runs down on the cylinder, down here, all around your plugs and down there. And that is all because of a leaking tappet cover gasket. And the reason you get these oil leaks from the tappet cover is because of, firstly, just general wear and tear. Maybe it's been on there for many years. And secondly, you also get a leak because you over tighten these nuts over here. You know, there are about 8 of them running right around the tappet cover, and sometimes we tighten these nuts too much, and that causes also oil to seep through. And I always advise people, when you tighten tappet cover gasket nuts, don't over tighten it, and also hand tighten. Try not to use a ratchet. Use a 10mm spanner like this, a ring one, and you go in a nice sequence and you tighten those nuts. Don't over tighten it. You will be doing more harm than good. And when you put on the gasket, you don't need to use silicone if you're using the rubber gasket. It's just a matter of tensioning those nuts just at the right torque. And also, very importantly, these metal strips running alongside the tappet cover, both sides, make sure that these are there when you tighten the nuts, because if these are not there, it will leak. Another area where you could possibly have oil leaking is through your breather pipe. Now, there should not be excessive amounts of oil coming through here. That could indicate valve stem seals or oil rings, but we will assume that it's not that. So if you do have a lot of oil that will come out of the breather pipe, it will go into your airbox and it will actually settle here at the bottom there, and you'll also have a very messy manifold. So just to show you that more clearly, this pipe goes into the breather hole, and you can see there that oil, if it leaks, it will come into your airbox. So that is how it finds its way onto the manifold, and then you will also have a case of it smelling, and it'll smoke, and it'll just give you a very unpleasant stench. And you will also end up with a very oil soaked air filter. So those are all the signs that you're getting an oil leak through your breather pipe. That oil leaking through the breather pipe can be solved possibly by checking to see if you have a oil splash guard, and this is situated right underneath the tappet cover, so it goes underneath here. So just do a check to see if you actually have this splash guard under your tappet cover. And then moving on to another area where you have your common oil leaks, and that is the sump. The same applies here. These bolts, we need to ensure that we don't over tighten them. So when you tighten them, use something like a T-bar, something similar to this that I've got in my hand, but with a socket attached to it, so you can sort of turn with your hand. Then also, very commonly on the Golf Mark 1, you will always find an oil leak. Well, not always, in a lot of cases you'll find an oil leak here. Now this is not, you're hoping that it's the sump gasket, otherwise it is something more serious. And when I say something more serious, it could mean that it's your rear main oil seal. and that is a bit more complicated to solve, but we won't go into that right now. But generally these gaskets on the Sump, they normally leak due to wear and tear, age, and also if we don't install it properly, we over tighten the bolts, we use bad quality gasket, and that is generally why it leaks. So when doing a gasket replacement, it's always good to buy quality. And lastly, there are two more areas where you will possibly develop an oil leak, and that is on the seals. There are two this side of the block. The one is situated behind the camshaft pulley. You won't be able to see it like this now, but if this cover is taken off, you'll see the pulley, and basically the camshaft seal is behind there. That very well, it doesn't commonly leak, but where you can develop a leak there. And those seals look typically like this. These are the type of seals that sits on the camshaft and the crank. And the same would apply to the crank seal, which is lower down. Similar setup, a bit more complicated to replace, but you also can develop an oil leak there, and you will typically see oil running down on the side of the Sump when one of those seals are gone. But not very common.